I thought I was protecting my sister. I was wrong. I've written this post at least 10 times. Every time I stop halfway because I don't know how to explain what happened without sounding like a monster, or worse, like someone who meant for things to fall apart. But the truth is, intentions don't matter much when the damage is already done. I'm the older sibling, and I failed my sisters. When we were kids, people used to say we were inseparable. I was 8 when she was born. I still remember standing outside the hospital room, my feet barely touching the floor as I sat on the plastic chairs, swinging them back and forth. When they finally let me see her, she was red and wrinkled and screaming like the world had already offended her. "She's loud," I said. My mother laughed. "She'll need someone strong to look after her." I didn't know then how seriously I would take that sentence. Our father left when I was 10 and she was 2. No dramatic shouting match, no slammed doors, just one morning where his shoes weren't by the entrance anymore. His coffee mug stayed in the sink, his side of the bed went untouched. My mother tried to explain it in words soft enough for a child. He had to go away for work. I watched her say it without blinking, like if she blinked the lie might leak out. That was the day I decided 2 things. 1, my sister would never feel abandoned. 2, I would never rely on anyone else to protect her. Those decisions shaped everything that came after. Growing up, it was always the 3 of us, but it felt more like 2.5. My mother worked double shifts, nights, weekends, holidays. I learned how to make instant noodles before I learned long division. I learned how to braid my sister's hair from YouTube. I learned how to sign her permission slips. I learned which nightmares made her cry silently and which ones made her scream. She called me when she was scared. She looked for me in crowded rooms. Teachers called me instead of our mother when she got sick at school. People thought it was sweet. They didn't see how heavy it felt. When I was 15, a teacher pulled me aside and said, "You're very mature for your age." What she didn't know was maturity wasn't a choice, it was survival. My sister, Maya, grew up bright. Too bright, maybe. She felt everything deeply. When she laughed, it filled the room. When she cried, it felt like the air collapsed. She trusted easily. That scared me. By the time she hit her teenage years, I had already convinced myself that the world was sharp and waiting to cut her. So I became sharp first. I screened her friends. I read her mood shifts like weather forecasts. I asked too many questions. I warned her about everything. Don't trust boys. Don't stay out late. Don't tell people too much. Don't assume anyone means well. She used to roll her eyes. "You sound like Dad." That stung more than she knew. The first real crack happened when she was 16. She came home one night quieter than usual. No music in her headphones, no random facts spilling out of her mouth. She went straight to her room and shut the door. I knocked. No answer. I waited, then knocked again. "Go away," she said. I didn't. That night she told me about a boy from her class, how he listened, how he made her feel seen, how he told her she was special. Every instinct in my body screamed danger. I told her he was manipulating her. I told her she was naive. I told her she didn't understand how people worked yet. She stared at me like I'd slapped her. "I just wanted you to listen," she said quietly. I thought I was protecting her. I was teaching her not to trust me. After that, she stopped telling me things. Not all at once, slowly, like water dripping from a cracked glass. She still smiled, still joked, still hugged me, but the details disappeared. The long conversations vanished. Her inner world locked its door. I noticed. I didn't know how to fix it without losing control, so I tightened my grip instead. College took me to another city. I told myself distance would be good for us both, that she'd learn independence, that I'd finally breathe. But every call from home made my chest tighten. "She's doing fine," my mother said. Fine wasn't enough. I came home whenever I could, watched for changes, counted the pauses in her voice, measured how long she took to reply to texts. She grew quieter around me, more careful. I told myself it was normal. It wasn't. The last year before everything broke, she started pulling away completely. She skipped family dinners, she stayed out late, she stopped answering my calls. When I confronted her, she snapped, "You don't get to control my life." "I'm not controlling you, I'm worried." "You're always worried, you never trust me." I wanted to say, "I trust you, I just don't trust the world," but all that came out was, "You don't understand how dangerous people can be." She laughed bitterly. "And you don't understand how suffocating you are." That word suffocating still echoes in my head. The night everything collapsed started like any other. A missed call, then another, then silence. I told myself not to panic. I panicked anyway. I drove home faster than I should have. My thoughts spiraled through every worst-case scenario I'd ever imagined. When I walked into the house, my mother was sitting at the kitchen table, hands shaking, phone face down. She looked up at me and said my name the way people do when something irreversible has already happened. She's at the hospital. I don't remember the drive. I remember the smell of disinfectant. I remember the sound of machines. I remember seeing my sister smaller than I'd ever seen her, wrapped in white sheets. She didn't look at me. Later, when the doctors left, when my mother stepped out to make a call, Maya finally spoke. Her voice was flat. I didn't tell you because I knew what you'd say. I sat there, unable to breathe. I didn't want your fear, she continued. I just wanted my brother. I opened my mouth. No words came out. I've spent every day since replaying every moment, every warning, every interruption, every time I chose control over trust. People tell me you did your best, but my best built walls where there should have been safety. My sister survived, but something between us didn't, and I don't know if it ever will. I didn't expect this many responses. I'm reading everything. The things she never told me. I didn't sleep that night. Not at the hospital. Not when we finally came home near dawn. Not even when exhaustion wrapped itself around my body like a threat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Maya exactly as she looked in that bed. Too still, too quiet. Like someone who had already started leaving. She slept most of the morning. The doctor said that was normal. Shock, they called it. Like it was a neat little box you could place pain into. My mother hovered. I paced. And every few minutes I checked my phone, even though there was nothing to check. No missed calls, no messages, just silence. Thick and accusing. When Maya finally woke up, it was afternoon. Sunlight slipped through the curtains and landed on her face, making her squint. She looked older. Not physically, something else. Something behind her eyes that hadn't been there before. She noticed me standing near the window and looked away almost immediately. That hurt more than if she'd yelled. The doctors explained the basics again. My sister nodded along, polite and distant, answering questions with one-word replies. She didn't look at me once. When they left, the room felt hollow. I sat down slowly, like any sudden movement might scare her. "Maya," I said. She didn't respond. "I'm here," I added uselessly. "I know," she said. Her voice was steady, too steady. Silence stretched between us, the kind that presses on your ears. Finally she spoke. "You can stop standing guard. I'm not going anywhere." I flinched. "That's not—" "I know what it looks like," she interrupted. "You think if you leave, something bad will happen again." I swallowed. "I don't think that. You always think that." Her eyes finally met mine, and there was no anger there, just exhaustion. She didn't tell me everything that day. She told me enough to understand that the version of her life I'd constructed in my head, safe, controlled, predictable, had never existed. The incident hadn't been some random one-time mistake. It was the result of months of pressure she'd been carrying alone. There had been a party, a friend's place, someone she trusted enough to say yes to going, someone I'd warned her about once, casually, dismissively. Be careful around people like that, without ever really listening when she tried to explain who he was to her. When things went wrong, she didn't call me. That fact burned itself into my chest. I thought about it, she admitted quietly. I stared at my phone for a long time. "What stopped you?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer. She hesitated, then said, "I didn't want to hear 'I told you so.'" The words weren't cruel. They were honest. That night, after she fell asleep again, I went home and sat in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by old trophies and certificates that suddenly felt meaningless. I kept thinking, if I had been less controlling, would she have trusted me? If I had listened instead of lecturing, would she have called? There was no answer that didn't hurt. Recovery was slow. Physically, she healed faster than anyone expected. Emotionally, it was like watching someone rebuild a house with missing instructions. She moved carefully through life afterward. Less laughter, more pauses before speaking. She started locking her door at night, started flinching at sudden noises, and she kept her distance from me. Not dramatically, not angrily, just deliberately. She thanked me when I did things for her. She was polite, appreciative. She wasn't close. One afternoon, a few weeks later, I overheard her talking to our mother in the kitchen. "I just need space," she said. "I can't breathe when he's watching me like that." I froze in the hallway. "He's scared," our mother replied gently. "You know that." "I know," Maya said, "but his fear isn't my responsibility." That sentence landed like a verdict. I started noticing things I had ignored before, how often I interrupted her, how rarely I asked open-ended questions, how my concern always came with conditions. I'd called it love, but love shouldn't feel like surveillance. The breaking point came one evening when I tried to talk to her about therapy. "I think it could help," I said carefully. "I can go with you if you want." She stared at her plate. "I'm already going," she said. "Oh," I replied. "You didn't tell me." I didn't want to. There it was again. That distance. Something in me snapped, not in anger, but in desperation. "I'm trying, Maya," I said. "I'm trying to be here for you." She looked up slowly. "Being here doesn't mean being in control." The room went quiet. "I never wanted to control you," I said. "I know," she replied. "That's what makes it worse." A few days later, she asked if we could talk, really talk. We sat on the floor of her room, backs against the bed, just like we used to when we were kids and the power went out. "I need you to hear this without fixing it." I nodded. She took a breath. "When I was younger, I thought your protectiveness meant I mattered. Like, if you were watching me that closely, I must be important." I swallowed hard. "But as I grew up, it started to feel like you didn't believe I could survive on my own." I stayed quiet. And when something bad happened, she whispered, I didn't just feel scared, I felt ashamed, because I knew you'd see it as proof that you were right. Her voice cracked. I didn't need you to be right, she said. I needed you to be safe. That night, I understood something I wish I'd learned years earlier. Protection without trust is just another kind of cage. She moved out 6 months later. Not far, close enough to visit, far enough to breathe. I helped her carry boxes, fixed a loose cabinet door, gave her space when she asked. At the door, before I left, she hugged me. It was brief, but real. We're okay, she said. Not we're the same, just okay. I still think about all the things I can't undo, all the moments where love came out wrong. I don't know if siblings ever fully recover from the roles they're forced into too early. But I'm learning, slowly, painfully, to step back, to listen, to trust that loving someone doesn't mean standing between them and the world. Sometimes it means letting them walk into it without you. Thank you to everyone who shared their stories. I'm taking them seriously. There's more to this, things I haven't talked about yet, including what happened after Maya left and the choice I had to make next.
The first week after Maya moved out, I kept reaching for my phone like a reflex. Every quiet moment triggered the same thought: I should check on her. Then I'd remember her words: I need space. So I put the phone down. That was harder than anything else I'd done in years. Her apartment was small, second floor, old building with uneven stairs and a flickering hallway light. When I helped her move in, I noticed everything: the lock on the door, the thin curtains, the neighbor's door directly across from hers. My mind immediately started cataloging risks. She noticed. You don't need to worry, she said gently. I chose this place. I nodded, even though every part of me wanted to argue. That was the beginning of the new rule I made for myself. If she doesn't ask, I don't advise. I broke that rule constantly at first, sometimes in my head, sometimes out loud, but I was learning to stop myself. The silence between us after she moved out wasn't hostile, it was cautious. We texted occasionally, short messages, practical things. Did you get home safe? Yes. Need anything? No, I'm good. Every reply felt like a test I didn't know how to pass. Therapy started for me around that time, not because I wanted to fix myself, but because I couldn't sit with the guilt anymore. The therapist asked me something in the first session that completely derailed me. Who took care of you when you were a kid? I laughed, then stopped. I did, I said eventually. She nodded, like that explained everything. I didn't realize how deeply that answer shaped the way I loved until then. Months passed. Maya slowly came back into my life. Not fully, not suddenly. Coffee once every few weeks, short walks, occasional shared deals. She talked more about work than feelings. I didn't push. Sometimes she'd mention therapy casually. My therapist says healing isn't linear, she told me once, stirring her drink. I wanted to ask, are you healing? I didn't. Instead, I said, that makes sense. She smiled, a real one. One night she called me. It was late, past midnight. I stared at my phone for a second before answering, fear and hope colliding in my chest. Hey, I said. Hey, she replied. Her voice was shaky. I waited. I had a nightmare, she said. I didn't want to be alone. My instinct was to grab my keys. Instead, I asked, do you want me to come over or do you want to talk? She paused. Talk, she said. That pause meant everything. We stayed on the phone for nearly an hour, about nothing important, about childhood memories, about stupid things. I didn't offer solutions. I didn't tell her how to feel. When she yawned, I said, try to get some sleep. I will, she replied. Thanks for listening. After the call ended, I sat there in the dark, hands shaking. It felt like a small victory. Not everything improved smoothly. There were setbacks, times I slipped back into old habits, times she pulled away again. Once, I showed up unannounced at her place because she hadn't replied to a message in hours. She opened the door, stunned. You scared me, I replied automatically. She exhaled slowly. We talked about this. Shame flooded me. I'm sorry, I said, and this time I meant it without excuses. She didn't slam the door. She didn't yell. She just said, please don't do that again. I nodded, and I didn't. A year after everything happened, she invited me to dinner, not at her place, not at mine, a neutral restaurant, quiet, comfortable. Halfway through the meal, she said, there's something I need to tell you. My stomach tightened. I'm moving, out of the city. The old fear surged instantly. Where? I asked. 3 hours away, she said, for work. I swallowed. When? 2 months. Every protective instinct screamed, don't let her go. Instead, I asked, how do you feel about it? She looked surprised. Excited, she said. Scared, but mostly excited. I nodded slowly. That sounds good, I said. Her eyes softened. I was afraid to tell you, she admitted. I thought you'd panic. I did, I said honestly.
Internally. She laughed, a short, genuine laugh. "But you didn't make it my problem," she said. I hadn't realized how badly I needed to hear that. The night before she moved, we sat on the floor of her apartment again, surrounded by boxes. "I don't blame you anymore," she said suddenly. I looked at her. "For what happened," she clarified. "I blamed you for a long time, for not being someone I could go to." My chest tightened. "But I also know you were doing the best you could with what you had, and I see you trying now." I didn't trust my voice, so I stayed quiet. She continued, "I don't want our relationship to be about guilt." I nodded. I want it to be about choice. That word stayed with me. Choice. At the train station, when it was time for her to leave, I hugged her, longer than usual. "You can call me any time," I said. She pulled back slightly and smiled. "I know," she said, "and I will when I want to." That was the difference. It's been 2 years now. We're not inseparable like we were when she was little. We're something else, something healthier. She tells me about her life. Not everything, but enough. I don't know every detail, and that's okay. Sometimes she asks for advice. Sometimes she doesn't. I've learned that being her brother doesn't mean being her shield. It means being her witness. If you're reading this, and you're the responsible one, the protector, the one who grew up too fast, please hear this. Love that doesn't allow room to breathe will eventually suffocate the very thing it's trying to save. I didn't lose my sister, but I came close, and that's a mistake I'll spend the rest of my life making sure I'd never repeat. Maya read this before I posted it. She said, "It's honest, just don't make me sound fragile." I told her I wouldn't. She said, "Good, I'm not." The silence that still follows me. People think healing has an end point, like one day you wake up and the guilt is gone, the memories stop ambushing you in grocery store aisles, and your past finally loosens its grip. That hasn't been my experience. Healing, for me, has been learning how to live with the silence instead of trying to fill it. After Maya moved away, the house felt wrong. Not empty, wrong. Her room stayed untouched for months, not because I was sentimental, but because I didn't know who I was without her orbiting my life. Every routine I'd built revolved around her existence in ways I hadn't fully realized until she was gone. I'd catch myself thinking, I should tell Maya this, then remember she was 3 hours away, then remember that distance wasn't a problem anymore. It was a boundary, and boundaries still felt like rejection to some part of me. We talked less than I expected, not because something was wrong, but because she was living. New job, new friends, new routines that didn't include me by default. At first, that hurt more than I want to admit. I didn't miss control. I missed relevance. That realization was ugly. One night, months later, I dreamt we were kids again. The power was out. We were sitting on the floor with a flashlight between us. She was laughing, telling me some story that didn't make sense, and I remember thinking, this is my job. Keep this moment safe. I woke up with my chest tight. For the first time, it hit me clearly. I didn't just lose parts of my sister when she grew up. I lost the role that gave my life meaning, and no one prepares you for that grief. I almost sabotaged everything again the day she told me she was dating someone. She said it casually, like it wasn't a grenade lobbed into my chest. "He's kind," said she, "patient, knows about everything." I smiled, I nodded, I said the right things. Then I hung up and sat in my car for nearly an hour, hands gripping the steering wheel, heart racing like danger was imminent. Nothing bad was happening, but my body didn't know that yet. Therapy taught me something uncomfortable. My protectiveness wasn't just about love. It was about fear of being unnecessary. If Maya didn't need me, then who was I? That question scared me more than the world ever scared her for her. A year later, she visited home for the holidays. We were alone in the kitchen late at night, the way we used to be when Mom worked late shifts. She leaned against the counter and said, "You know, I don't think you realize how much power you had over me." I stiffened. "Not in a bad way," she added quickly. "Just your opinion of me mattered more than anyone else's." I looked down. "That's why it hurt so much when you didn't believe I could handle things," she said. "It wasn't just control. It felt like disappointment." That word again. I nodded slowly. "I was terrified," I admitted, "of losing you, of failing you." She studied me for a moment. "You did fail me." My chest tightened. "But you're also the reason I know what love isn't, and what it should be." I didn't ask which mattered more. Some questions don't need answers. There are still days I catch myself rewriting the past. If I had listened more, if I had trusted her sooner, if I had chosen humility over authority. But the past doesn't change, only patterns do. Now when she calls, I don't brace for impact. I listen. When she doesn't call, I let the silence exist without interpreting it as danger. That's the hardest part. Sometimes people comment on my original post and say things like, "You were a good brother. You did what you could. She should be grateful." They don't understand. This story isn't about blame. It's about how love can become distorted when fear leads, how good intentions can still leave scars, how siblings can hurt each other deeply without ever meaning to. Maya is doing well. She laughs more now, not the loud, careless laughter of childhood, but something steadier, something earned. She doesn't need me the way she once did, and strangely, that's how I know we're okay. If I could say one thing to my younger self, it would be this. Being someone's safety net doesn't mean wrapping them so tightly they can't fall. Sometimes love is standing back, hands open, ready, but not hovering. I still carry the weight of almost losing her. I always will. But I no longer let that weight decide how I love. And that might be the most important thing she ever taught me, without meaning to. Final note, if Maya ever reads this again, she'll probably text me one sentence. "You're overthinking, as usual." And I'll smile. Because she's right. Subscribe for more real story. Thanks for watching.